time for more daily coverage of the G1 CLIMAX 34. Hi, I'm MrWarrenHayes. This is happening on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. Nice to see you. Hope you're having a lovely weekend so far. And I can tell you one thing, that New Japan has decided to have a nice Sunday at the very least. It's a tremendous show that I'm excited to talk about right here for you all. Thank you for being here. You know, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, consider leaving a like on the video. Subscribe if you don't want to miss out on my G1 coverage that I do daily, as I mentioned. And also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify if you're listening to this over on the audio side of things. But yeah, listen, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's just get right to it, starting with attendance for night 10. Didn't we mention that it was night 10? We're in the double digits now. Starting to feel very home stretch-like. Yeah, it's night 10 of the G1 on August 4, 2023. We were in Nagoya at the Aichi Prefectural Gym. 3,205 people showed up for the show, which is pretty good. If we compare to last year, and we should, because we actually have a very good comparison if we both compare to the last, because we have a very good comparison to last year. You know, usually we'll compare night for night, but you know, it hasn't really been in the same venue every time. Now, in this circumstance right here, it is. Last year, on night 10 of the G1 CLIMAX 33, we were in Nagoya, in the Aichi Gym. 3,545 people were in the house. So not that big a difference, just maybe 200 or so. Main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Hirooki Goto. You also had in the co-main event, I guess, Shingo Takagi versus Tama Tonga. So, you know, you get a Hiroshi Tanahashi main event and you draw 3,500 people. This year, the main event was Yota Tsuji. The co-main event was Hirooki Goto versus Konosuke Takeshita. You know, and Yota Tsuji and Ren Narita, not exactly your top draws of the company right now. And I know they're putting Yota in a lot of in a lot of main events to test out the waters. We're in a lot. He's been in a couple. And I think there's still at least one more to come, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be mistaken. The point is that they are testing out the waters with Tsuji here. So if Tsuji is at the top, you know, with Hirooki Goto, who I wouldn't consider a draw, maybe interest, wouldn't consider him a draw. Maybe Takeshita up there in a top spot, maybe, but I doubt it. I think this show did very well as far as its attendance overall. The last time that New Japan was in the building was earlier this year for the New Japan Cup, which was which was on March 16, 2023, and they drew 1,750 people. We had Sonata and Jack Perry in the quarterfinals of that when we were in the tail end of the cup. So, this is a dramatic improvement from last time. They were also here even earlier back in the year, back in January. The New Beginning show was here, and they drew 2,710 people, with the main event being Evil versus Tama Tonga in a lumberjack match, which I did not like. You remember that was the match that started and went to a no contest. You remember it like it was complete trash, right? It was just awful stuff, and it was not a good show either. I guess the co-main event was Phantasmo and Hikuleo defeating Chase Owens and Kenta over the strong open weight titles. Like, yeah, I mean, it was not a strong show. what can we glean from this a little more, right? So let's think about last year once again. 3,500 people get drawn with a main event that includes Hirooki Tanahashi and had Hirooki Goto in it. This year, no Hiroshi Tanahashi, none of the big draws from last year, right? There's no Shingo in the main event. There's no Will Ospreay. There's no Kazuchika Okada. There's no Tetsuya Naito on this show either. But we put Yota Tsuji and Ren Narita in there. And yes, I guess we could talk about Hirooki Goto and Konosuke Takeshita as co-main events, but I don't even think that's all of that significant a draw. The point being here is that they did 3,200 when the last two times New Japan was in Nagoya. This year, they drew a fraction of this. What was it? 1,700 for the New Japan Cup and 2,000 something. 2,000 for anyway. I would say that, look, it's either one of two things, right? Because the G1 technically is like instantly generates interest, right? So maybe if you start on that level, that's good. But maybe our boy Tsuji has a little oomph to him. Maybe he is slowly turning into a veritable draw for New Japan. I think these are compelling numbers, and I think it's fun. We're getting it. I think it's fun that we're able to do a 1-to-1 comp with last year, and then you're able to dredge up the information from other appearances that New Japan has had in Nagoya this year and do the comparison. It's kind of hard to. It's kind of difficult to not say first and foremost that this was a success for them. They must be happy with the number, and it makes an interesting point, an interesting case for Yota Tsuji as a draw. So, developing story. Let's keep an eye on this. I might even go back and check some stuff, and maybe we'll talk about it on the next in 2 days when we reconvene to continue talking about the G1. What are the results? Let's talk about let's go through the results of today's show. And that was, why am I confused here? There we go. David Finlay defeated Oleg Boltin. El Phantasmo defeated Yuya Uemura. Jeff Cobb got the best of HENARE. Hirooki Goto scored one on Konosuke Takeshita, and Yota Tsuji defeated Ren Narita. So, and look, overall, let's get into the review. But if you want like a paintbrush overview of what I thought of the show, I thought this show was tremendous. I enjoyed this show a lot. Like, I thought this was a very, very good evening of the G1, of pro wrestling. We even got a great match out of this. I think my match of the tournament. You probably already know what it is. But I'm still going to keep you hanging in case you're not sure. Just in case you don't know, in case you haven't, in case you're coming in completely blind, I'm going to leave you in suspense. Dave Finlay, like we mentioned, defeated Boltin Oleg in the opener. This one got time, right? I was like, 12 minutes for the opener. It's like, okay, this is pretty good. And I feel they've been evening out a lot of over the past couple of nights. They've been evening out a lot of the times where you don't have like a couple of matches that are sub 10 minutes, and then you have two matches that are 20 or over 20 or close, very, very close to. Now you have like one 20-minute, you have one long, and it's usually the main event, right? One 20-minute match, and then the rest sort of are in like this sweet spot between 12 to 15 minutes. And I think that makes for really compelling viewing at the same time. And I feel it gives enough time for a lot of people to tell really good stories as well, and have a really good match in the meantime. So I kind of feel like this was the case for Dave Finlay. I thought this was good, like not really good. I thought it was a good match. Oleg is in control until Finlay lariats him, and then over the rails, like on the floor, in a great bump by Oleg, and then Finlay does what he does best, starts using big moves and backbreakers. He does a backbreaker and a camel clutch. Oleg starts throwing him around, does the gut wrench swings, but goes for the Vader bomb, but Finlay gets his knees up, does the Irish Curse backbreaker, does the Finlay roll, which is essentially a kamikaze, which is Oleg's finisher, and Gabe Kidd was on English commentary, and he was, I wouldn't want to say he was shooting, but there were certain moments during his commentary where you felt, at the very least, he's flying very close to the sun. And hear him putting over the fact, that the kamikaze is just a Finlay roll, and putting over Dave Finlay because they're in War Dogs and whatnot, and putting over Dave Finlay, saying that's his dad and the Finlay roll and so on and so forth. So I thought that was interesting because it is Oleg's finisher, and then you have old Gabe Kidd going, my mate, shoot up, the interesting dynamic he has with Walker Stewart. Let's put it that way. Anyway, Finlay wins the match with his finisher. The name escapes me right now. It's not Into Oblivion. It's the Blackout, the dead person, the flashbang. I don't remember. I don't remember what it is. But he gets another 2 points on this one here, and he makes it to 8 on the B side of things for the tournament. Oleg stays at 4. I gave this 3 stars. I got no problem with it. Good, fun, little opener. Put a good mise en bouche. Good little thing. El Phantasmo defeated Yuya Uemura. This starts off very respectfully as Uemura extends a hand. Shake my hand. ELP, go for it. And they do, and so it starts off, sportsmanship. I'm telling you, this babyface run that Yuya is on, and this was what you needed to do, right? Like these are arguably two big baby faces that New Japan has in its midst. So, I like this. I thought this was very good, very, very good. Suplex into a turnbuckle by El Phantasmo. It seems to send Yuya Uemura in for a loop. Like, it sort of really takes him off his game, puts him in the position, puts him in the best position, which is to work from beneath. That's what Yuya is best at. But he does nonetheless fight back. He does nonetheless fight back. I know English, I promise. And he works ELP's arm throughout this match. Dive to the other side of the rail by El Phantasmo. Even though Jado is telling him not to do it, El Phantasmo's like, nah, I got to do it, pal. Then back in the ring, ELP does the springboard senton lion salt combo, and then clasps on an ankle lock onto Yuya, who then tries to get a cross arm breaker. Struggles to get it on because ELP is putting up resistance, of which ELP escapes. But when it's finally locked in, ELP finally escapes. There's a tornado DDT by ELP. I thought the spot where ELP does his quote unquote burning hammer, right, which is not a burning hammer, which I remember this because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to wrestling move names, even though sometimes they escape me, like Dave Finlay's finisher right now. I can't remember for the life of me. You've got a few nights ago, I don't remember which night specifically, and it doesn't matter. ELP does the burning hammer thing, and Chris Charlton calls it a burning hammer of sorts, right? Because you don't have the part where you drop the guy on his skull, right? So Charlton was safe with it and said it's a burning hammer of sorts. Walker Stewart, I guess, used that today on the broadcast and called it straight up burning hammer. And Gabe Kidd, again, who was on a tear, just straight out said, that's not a burning hammer, you whatever, he sort of called him a name. You have to drop him on his fucking head to be a burning hammer. And I'm like, yes, that's true. I thought that was just being straight up called out. Like, no, that is not a burning hammer. Burning hammers are like, the burning hammer is a tremendously dangerous move, and it should stay as such, and it has a mystique around it that should be maintained. Anyway, we're not getting into a move debate here. Thunder Kiss 86 follows a German suplex by Yuya Uemura. We get some close near falls, a dragon suplex by Uemura again. An ELP rolls up Uemura into a pinning predicament that he can't kick out of. He does one of those things where he just lies over the legs, and it's like, it looks like it's a great visual pin, visually, because it does look like no one should be able to kick out of it. Like no living, breathing human should be able to to get their way out of it. I thought this was really friggin' good. I gave this 3 3/4 star. I was into it. I thought it was good. ELP up now with 4 points. Uemura still at 6. We talked about this. And we were wondering, we said it amongst ourselves. Did Uemura's little push happen? And now, he's going to finish with 6. Yeah, maybe the push for Uemura in this tournament was, you're going to come out the gate looking great, kid. And on top of that, with the points, Uemura has been wrestling tremendous matches throughout. So is the push done? I'm just saying, like, we're not victory lapping here, but I'm just saying, like, keep an eye out for it. Maybe he could win another match, but we're definitely not sweeping the block anymore. Jeff Cobb defeated HENARE. This was good, solid, strong, big, strong, meaty man fight. You gotta have these. You have to have these in this tournament. And you know what? Let's run through the match real quickly. They're trying to take each other down. Jeff Cobb has to do a jumping shoulder tackle to take him down, and HENARE fights back, does a senton, gut wrench suplex by Cobb, a disaster kick by HENARE, a tremendous one at that, just great stuff. Cobb drop kicks him onto while HENARE is up on the turnbuckle. Like, that's just impressive in and about itself. And then he climbs up and does a stalling superplex, which is always awesome. Standing moonsault follows and his spin cycle. Jeff Cobb is on a roll. Leaping knee strike by HENARE and a berserker bomb. German suplex follows. And then German suplex follows, then a rampage, F5000 by Cobb. And then there's a moment where, like, they're, of course, just dropping bombs on each other, taking each other down. And then there's this moment where they're both, like, kneeling in front of each other, and Cobb is the healthier of the two, and he's getting back on his feet, and he's telling HENARE, get up. They did the respect thing, being in the same faction and whatnot. And he's egging his boy on, get up. And HENARE seems gutted. He can't seem to do it. He seems out of it. And he does, Jeff Cobb's, hang 10 thing. This is what that is, right? Anyway. And Jeff Cobb does the crown thing, and then does a tour of the islands for the win. Yeah, I could have done maybe without that segment, which seemed a little off. Like it didn't. This as good as I like this match. Don't get me wrong. It didn't feel like HENARE had been through the hell to, concede his match to Jeff Cobb, if that makes sense. It came off a little weird. I feel like it was a little dichotomy in the storytelling. I know what they were trying to say, but I feel like the path we took to get to it didn't validate HENARE taking, throwing the match. Not throwing the match, but accepting the loss, if that makes sense. Or conceding. That's the word I was looking for. Conceding the loss to his boy. It was hard hitting. It was good, but I don't feel like it was that brutal of a match. I still really liked it. I just thought that bit was weird, and it sort of took me out of it. 3.5 stars for me, though. I thought it was very good. Jeff Cobb up at 8, up there at the top, and HENARE stays at 6. And then we had Hirooki Goto defeating Konosuke Takeshita in an absolutely fantastic match. This was a great match. I love this so much. I love so many things about this match. Takeshita's in control. DDT on the floor. DDT on the apron. So he's ringing Goto's bell early. They're trading some open hand strikes after that, but Konosuke takes him out with a huge forearm. Just great stuff to begin with. Like right off the bat, you're like, oh, okay, it's gonna be one of these. It's gonna be one of these. Goto fights back with the Saito suplex. A Topikun Hilo by Takeshita also follows. Goto gets a hope spot. It ends with an Ushigoroshi. Takeshita pummels Goto into a blue thunder bomb. Later on, Goto hits a sunset bomb. TK then does the I think it's the scrunchie, right? No, it's not the scrunchie, nor the dude buster. No, that's it's like a belly to back thing. This I can never remember the name of this particular variant of the pile driver where you do belly to belly and Takeshita underhooks the legs and then he drops, right? I can never remember what that one's called, but I always think, oh, it's a dude buster, it's a scrunchie, but it's not. You put the other guy on your back, basically. But so Takeshita does that, and he does that move, lands it, holds onto the legs, or holds on to Goto, and does a wheelbarrow German, which is just fantastic. Goto fires back up and takes him down with a lariat, follows up with the GTW brainbuster by Takeshita, Shotenkai by Goto, and crowd goes nuts. Crowd was into this, and when the Shotenkai came out of nowhere, that was just, everyone just roared. Tremendous headbutt spot. This was great, where Goto headbutts Takeshita, and they're both like sort of standing against each other, just leaning, and you can see just like Takeshita slowly, very slowly, just crumbling into dust over the headbutt, but like slowly, and it's so good. GTR by Goto for the win, and the intensity of this match was unparalleled, and everything just connected and made sense. And it was hard hitting, it was fast paced, it was everything that I love out of the G1 CLIMAX. This is the type of match that gets all the proper hormone rushes going. I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, this is so good. This is all so good. And then I get excited. Then I'm like, yes, this is it. Let's go. This is the feeling. This is what I should be feeling throughout the entire tournament. Let's go. It's the G1, baby. This match ruled. And I'm sitting there watching it, watching these two, watching Konosuke Takeshita, just like, you know, continue to make a case for being right now one of the top 10 pro wrestlers in the world. Like what he's doing, what he does in these matches with such smoothness, crispness, everything looks, all of his offense looks harsh. And he's so good. You know, he does the tope con hilos. He's always on point. He always lands them. And then Goto, on the other hand, you know, one of the guys of the old generation, one of the guys that all these new guys is, is coming for his spot. But here he is having a great G1, but not only that, having, in my opinion, not just great matches, good matches, the best match of the tournament. Showing all these kids how it should be done. Why aren't we getting this? I mean, look, and again, I want to say too many things at once. I've enjoyed this tournament tremendously. Like, I think this has been a really fun G1 to follow and to chat about. But why aren't we getting matches like this once a night? What's keeping these guys from coming out there and just tearing the house down like this at least once on every show? Because look at what happened here. We're talking about the young generation. We're talking about, you know, Umino and Tsuji, Narita, Uemura. Let's throw in, you know, Boltin and Newman in that as well, although they're on another, in another environment as far as new guys go. But bear with me, you know, we're talking about all these guys, how it's time for them to take their place. Gabe Kidd, let's throw Gabe Kidd in here as well. Gabe Kidd as well. And and we're talking about how good the G1 has been for guys like Kidd and Uemura. But the great match of the tournament, the one that's just that got the hair standing on my arms, was performed by a guy who doesn't even go here, and an older guy, a guy who in the overall in the grand arc of the G1, a guy whose time is running up as far as his career goes, his G1 presences go. And right now, I could not tell you that this tournament would have benefited by not having Hirooki Goto in it. I don't know what he did. I don't know who he schmoozed to secure his spot in the G1 this year. But that was a brilliant move. He's been solid throughout, and then one night of this tournament, he sits back. Well, no, he doesn't sit back, but he gets amped up and he's like, okay, tonight's the night. And probably he and Takeshita were like, well, look at the main event. Let's go have the main event caliber match, because it's not going to happen with these two other guys. That was a fair guess. If that's how it happened, that's a fair assessment, because the main event wasn't even close to being this special. I mean, this is what you want out of your G1 climaxes. This is the feeling. This is what you want. You want shit like, you know, you want shit like Gabe Kidd and Shingo, and you want this. This ruled. Tremendous stuff. Match of the tournament so far. Like, to me right now, this is where the bar is. If you want to do better, this is what you're aiming for. And let's go. And I hope you, because here's the one thing that ultimately is missing right now from the G1. And again, I want to emphasize that I've been enjoying the tournament, But if you think back, and you inevitably cannot, you go back to the great period of G1s from the 2010s, right? You'd have guys come out and have these excellent matches, like these top tier world class matches, and then they'd go backstage, and then what would happen is, what would happen is that the other guys backstage would be looking at this, and then they'd get together and they'd talk. And you're like, well, you know what? You and me, two other guys. Well, we just saw this match. Our next week, or in 2 nights we're fighting. Let's show them better. Let's do better. Let's show them up. And then they'd go out and they'd have a better match, or you know what I mean? They'd always be trying to one up each other. There's a weird misconception that sometimes I find with some wrestling fans, not all, that, wrestling locker rooms are like, everyone are coworkers and get along okay, and everyone just sticks to their spot and their lane, and that's it. But when in reality, it's a very competitive environment, and it has to be very competitive right now in New Japan. It has to be. I would have no. I absolutely believe that backstage, people are jockeying for positioning, and because of all the changes that are coming, and I'm sure some people are just scared of their spots, for their spots is what I mean, and I think what's missing right now is things like this. Now, if we consider my hypothesis, right, that everything is very competitive in the locker room right now, and that people are, they want to make sure they have a spot. They want to make sure they're the star, that we focus on good things about them. Wouldn't it be plausible to imagine that guys would look at this match, look at Hirooki Goto versus Konosuke Takeshita, and then chat amongst themselves, and they're like, look, on Tuesday, you and me, we got to tear the house down. And they're like, okay, that's a good idea, shake. Because again, all the new guys are they're doing well, don't get me, they're doing fine, depending on, there's, of course, variance, but they're doing fine. But the 2 guys who right now, in my opinion, have the match of the tournament is an old guy, or an older guy, and a guy who is not only, it's not even a question that he's old, is that he is a representation of the old era of New Japan, the era that we're slowly coming out of. That one guy, and a guy who doesn't even go there. I'm Shota Umino, I'm Yota Tsuji, I'm Gabe Kidd. I'm looking at all this and I'm like, you know what, we got to do something about this. Let's work together, pal. That's what these matches are for. That's what it should be. It's like, it should ignite everyone backstage to just tear the house down. I hope so. The tournament's not over yet. We still got quite a few nights, It's not, I'm not saying this as if it's like, oh, well, we've got 2 nights left, a little too late, too little too late. But it would have been nice if this kind of stuff were happening really early, because we did have really good matches early on. Night 1 is practically only that, right? But then again, it's night 1, and you're like, will this sustain? Well, I wouldn't say it's sustained, not on a very high level. Anyway, Hirooki Goto is at 6 points now. Takeshita stays at 6. I gave this match 4.5 stars. And then Yota Tsuji defeated Ren Narita, which was fine. A good little match, Narita attacks during introductions. It's, we're doing all that stuff, and there's stuff on the floor, and Ren Narita works Tsuji's knees, and all that stuff. Boston crabs and whatnot. Yota Tsuji fights back with a suplex, an exploder, a knee bar, follows by Ren Narita. Yota Tsuji does the stomp, runs into another knee bar, does a headbutt and that Falconaro type thing that he sit out slam that he does. Then of course there's the ref bump. And this is the thing that I realized, right, when I was watching this match. Maybe I'm recording this, of course, on Sunday, August 4th, and I'm coming off of watching WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, SummerSlam, WWE SummerSlam yesterday. Now this is not going to turn into a SummerSlam review, don't trust me, but here's the thing. In the Cody Rhodes Solo Sikoa match, I couldn't get invested in the match because I was waiting for the nonsense to happen. I was just waiting for people to come out. Whether it be the Tongans or Roman or whoever the fuck else, I was just waiting for people to run in. I wasn't invested in the match because there's no point. And this is always kind of the thing here where I'm like, well, I'm just waiting for the ref bump. I'm just waiting for the nonsense. Because this is why I get so annoyed with House of Torture interference and whatnot. It's because up until the interference, because there is a match going on that once the interference hits, has a very high chance to completely be wiped away. That match can suddenly cease to exist because there's a ref bump and then the House of Torture nonsense begins. Ren Narita's matches have not been as full of, stuff. You don't have Yoshinobu Kanemaru running around or Dick Togo or, Yujiro. We're not doing the arena blackouts. Show's not around. We're not doing wrenches. We're not doing all the usual bullshit, right? But I still expect it. I wait for it. So it does take me out of these matches to a degree where I'm like, I'm on my guard and I'm just waiting for it to happen because I have a sinking feeling that when the interference does happen, it erases everything that happened previous to that. That's why it's so annoying when this shit happens, because at some point you're like, let's just do it and get it over with. So I kind of felt like this in this match where I'm like, I'm waiting for stuff to happen, So, like I said, the ref bump happens and Yota Tsuji avoids getting clocked with the push-up bar or whatever it is. Marlowe Stomp is avoided by Narita. Low blow by Yota Tsuji. He clips the knee. He goes for the X Factor, but Tsuji blocked it like a god. I thought it was tremendous because the X Factor, it's a sit down kind of bulldog thing, and he does it, but Tsuji puts his hands down, boom, keeps and basically supporting himself so that his head never reaches the ground. And I thought that was such a visually awesome block, and he lands the spear for the win. Look, the 3 1/4 star, I thought it was well worked. The nonsense has a tendency to take me out of these things, and Tsuji, again, all to his credit, if he being in the main event was able to draw people, he's got something, but where was the spark that I had in Takeshita and Goto earlier? Where's the spark that's animating Uemura right now? And don't get me wrong, I really like Yota Tsuji, and he has everything to be the guy, and I think they believe he's going to be the guy, but he needs to be in danger a little bit. There's urgency lacking in his matches, and I think that can eventually be a detriment, at least in the tournament. And I'm not saying he didn't wrestle urgently, just that there's lacking, you know. Here's the thing, and we're because the standings of B block right now are so close that everyone in this friggin' block has to be wrestling with urgency. Look, as far as recommendations, if we follow the pattern, if we go with recommendations, it's an easy rec. It's Hirooki, Goto, and Konosuke Takeshita. That's, you make time out of your day to go watch this. I thought it was a tremendous fight. But you know, I would say watch the show. I think it's as much as yesterday's was skippable, I think today we had a really entertaining pro wrestling show. But B Block has been very good as well throughout the tournament. So there we go. So that's as far as recommendations go. Now, if we talk about the standings, you know, Dave Finlay, Jeff Cobb at 8. We've got how many people have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people at 6 points. And then Oleg, Boltin, and El Phantasmo. Boltin, Oleg, excuse me. And El Phantasmo at the... Oleg, no, it is Oleg Boltin. Why am I always confused? Anyway, they have 4 points. They're at the bottom. But... Again, I gotta harken back to when I did my preview with Chris Samza. We were both saying, you know, Block B has the potential to be the block that will have the most people tied, you know, that we'll be guessing till the very end who's making it or not. I don't think anyone expected it to be this bad, or at least we don't even have one runaway who's like at the top. Even if Finlay and Jeff Cobb are tied for first, you know, everyone else is still within reach. Don't forget, there's 3 people moving forward. Everyone is still within reach. It's anyone's ball game still at this point. Even El Phantasmo. Look, let's say a guy like El Phantasmo, I always use him as an example, but nonetheless, even if he wins his next 3, he still has the potential to be in the running. If he wins his next 3, that's 6 points. That brings him up to 10. Now, you know, he's got, you know, Jeff Cobb has a tiebreaker over him. That's significant because Cobb is at the top right now, but he being Phantasmo hasn't fought David Finlay yet. Phantasmo's final matches are going to be a rough go. He's got Finlay, Goto, and Takeshita. So it's not going to be, you know, spices and pumpkin pie here. You know, that's not going to be an easy one for him. You know, just like, so, you know, like he's still in this. You know, I think it's reasonable to believe that Oleg Boltin is not going to make it. But you never know, because again, you have 3 matches left, and in these 3 matches, if you win these 3 matches, you're still in contention. Like I'm not ready to soft eliminate anyone. Still, I think the field is still way too open, and we've been seeing a bunch of surprises here. So Phantasmo may have a chance. Boltin may have a chance. I'm not ready to completely discredit him. I don't know what. Look, management really likes Boltin. They really do. So we'll see what happens. You know, and Finlay and Cobb at the top right now, they've got a tiebreaker coming up. When is their match? Let's take a look. Today was the 4th. When is the next match? So it's not, okay, it's not on August 7, not the 8th, and that would take us to the 10. It will be on the 10. So they're going to have, like, that's going to be a crucial tiebreaker right there. That's going to set the stage for a lot of things. Just like Yota Tsuji and Uemura. who are also going to be fighting on the 10th. That's going, because they're going to be in contention as well. Uemura has Narita, Boltin, and Tsuji. So Tsuji is quite effectively his most important victory, or match, I should say, coming up. Or, of course, a victory would be good. And Tsuji has Cobb, he has HENARE, and Uemura as well. And on top of that, these two, they already have history. They've been building the rivalry between these two guys here. So, I'll tell you this, that match is the main event of the 10th. And the co-main event, Jeff Cobb versus Dave Finlay. It's starting to feel like these four guys are going to be in the mix. That it's going to be these four guys. Or at the very least, one guy is going to be completely set aside here, right? Well, that's the point. What am I talking about? But it's going to be these four guys as we head into the last few moments of the G1 this year. That's going to be on the 10th, as I said. So again, the field is too wild. It's very unpredictable, but we got some big matches coming up. We got some really big matches coming up. B block. Look, Hirooki Goto and Dave Finlay's coming up. And see, look, when it comes to Finlay and Cobb, for B block, of course. On August 7, we have Jeff Cobb versus Oleg Boltin. That's probably going to be a Jeff Cobb victory, right? And then Dave Finlay versus Hirooki Goto in the main event. One could assume that Dave Finlay's going to win. So they're probably going to stay at the top of the block with the 10 points to make it even more meaningful, to make their main event even more meaningful. Well, their co-main event, I should say, on the 10th. Tsuji's taking on HENARE and Uemura taking on Narita. So it is plausible that these two guys will run away with the next 2 points. So it's really going to come down to those four guys, I would assume. Uemura, Tsuji, Goto, Finlay. That's how I'm feeling it right now. But the field is so wide. There's still so much stuff that could happen. I'm just looking at card placement. I'm looking at what's going on. Takeshita, I think he might be a potential spoiler, but I think he's kind of out of the conversation slowly. But he still might spoil things because look, he's got Narita, Boltin, and El Phantasmo left. Like, he should win those three, or does Phantasmo get a win on him here? I think we might be close to the end of his tournament. But he might he might just he's not involved in any top tier matches anymore. These are Narita, Boltin, Phantasmo, these are not top tier guys. He's not going to be main eventing, the final night of B block action against these guys. Any of three of these guys. It's just not happening. I don't think he's qualifying. Am I going to be bold and suddenly do a very live thing and soft eliminate Konosuke Takeshita? Does that make sense? He's at 6 points. He could score 3 more. He could be up to 12. No. I'm very close on it though. Oh, I'm so close. Like, just looking at who he has left, it's not significant. These are not significant wins. He'll probably win against Narita, probably win against Boltin, and lose against El Phantasmo. That would be my call. I'm not ready to eliminate him though. Field's too volatile. We don't know. Anyway, that's where we're at with the standings. we will be seeing each other again in 2 days on August 6th as we start as we start back-to-back nights in Corkin Hall. In fact, we're getting into a 3-day stretch for the G1. Like I said, we'll be back on the 6th, 7th, both in Corkin, and then on the 8th, where we're going to be in Kanagawa, the Budokan. So as far as Corkin goes, on night 1, we're going to be back night 1 on August 7th. Back with some A block action. Well, night 1 of the 2 nights of Budokan, when in fact it's going to be night 11 of the G1. Could I make this any more complicated for you to follow? Yes, I could actually, but let's keep moving. Great Khan will be taking on Callum Newman. Gabe Kidd taking on Jake Lee. Oh boy. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Evil. I'm actually interested in this match. I'm very interested in this match. Shota Umino versus Tetsuya Naito. Still trying to scrub off the stench of their terrible match they had together. And Shingo Takagi versus Sanada, which has the potential to be very good. That's going to be the main event. And that's going to be waiting for us when we see each other again on August 6th. Did I say 7? August 6th. August 7 is for B Block, but we're not going to talk about that right now because I've already made this really confusing. So night 11 of the G1 is happening on August 6th in Corkin Hall in Tokyo. So we will be back for all of that. And we are going to wrap up this edition of the daily recap, the daily coverage of the G1. I'm MrWarrenHayes. Thank you very much for being here. Like on the video on YouTube, and 5-star reviews, 5-star ratings, all that good stuff. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.